Well, hey everybody, it's Ed O'Keefe, and I'm here with my good friend Dominick Cruz. Super stoked. Dominick was kind enough to let me come crash his backyard and jump here on the podcast. Now, I was telling you before we jumped on, and then you said, hey, you sure you want to do this? Because I've known Dominick now for about probably 12 or 13 years, something like that, about 10 years. And why I wanted you on the podcast as we're relaunching it. This is like my 110th show, but it's really 2022. I made a commitment to like getting it back live. And
what stopped you?
Well, the mistake I made was when I was launching my one brand, Wake Up Foods, I made like a mental switch, like, oh, I got to go all in on this and I can't be distracted, which you can understand that. Yep. The problem was I lost part of my kind of spirit and my like voice a little bit, because I convinced myself falsely, I guess, but to hide, a little bit. Like we can talk about that in a second, but I want to say the reason why I wanted you on first.
That was deep, you guys.
Yeah, we're going to talk about
just so you know, like he was going deep and he pulled back.
Because we're actually going to get into identity. We're going to get into some of that.
See, I knew it. I could feel it.
Like we wanted to go. The reason why I think this is going to be very different is I've known you for a while, and let me get into that for a second. But like, so Dominick, the last time we spoke, we text each other a bit, but the last time we spoke was at Plz Hospital when my daughter was down here for stem cells because she was battling long haul COVID and Lyme. And something you said, you probably don't realize how powerful it was in our family, because it's rippled in our family. It's like you've become an anchor in our household. It's very important for you to understand.
I'll just stop there and say that that's hard for me. I'm learning to get better at receiving that amount of love.
Yeah, yeah, but you need to know.
I don't know what I'm talking. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just talking to you guys because I think you guys are awesome.
You're just being you.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
Yeah,
so, like,
and we believe that. We believe in you, and but more importantly, I think more importantly, like in that, when Keegan was battling, like we were in Plz, and she was really going through a hard time. Like she didn't feel good being there. My wife was kind of there. And so we were talking, and I was telling you about like the trials Keegan was going through with the Lyme disease and the COVID. And you responded differently than a lot of people have. And I told Keegan about this. And I can't remember exactly, but you said, wow, she's going to have such a great story of triumph coming out of this. And one of the things we've had to train in our household. So I shared that with her, and it was such a perfect reframing of her battle. Because when we tell people like, look, yeah, she was been on a freaking couch for the last 14 months, and people are, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And me and Nola, this is a battle in the household of like, okay, we're not victims. I appreciate I'm sorry, but we are, the reframe on that. And so it was really powerful. I just want to say thank you in that, and kind of let you know, because you're busy doing your thing, we're busy doing our thing, but in our household, we got Cruz shirts everywhere, Cruz sweatshirts, they fight over it. And so you've become a really important anchor in our household as you go on your journey. We follow you, and we love that you're sharing on social, because I get to forward it on to my kids. And
perfect. Yeah. Well, I'm grateful you shared that with me. Thank you. Because I don't know, my goal is to make a difference for pretty much anybody I come in contact with in some way. Yeah. Hopefully in a positive way, but like generally that's what I want. And when I'm talking, when I said what I said, it's because Keegan, when you tell me she's on the couch for 14 months and can't do anything, my brain can't conceptualize that being anything but what makes her different from everybody else. Yeah. And that's going to be her story. Yeah. So it's like the things we go through, the horrible things are what make each of us special. The less horrible things you go through, I hate to say it, but the more vanilla, the more you have no life experiences. You didn't go through hell and back to know what you are and who you are. And when you go through those things that she's going through, not only is her mind gonna understand that things end and she can get through it, but on top of that, and that's an advantage. Yeah. But on top of that, her immune system, I remember saying, is going to be double as strong.
Yes.
That's what I remember saying. Now that you've talking about it. Yeah, she fought Lyme disease and she's fought COVID at the same time. Yeah. And she's fine. Yeah. Like, it doesn't get much.
You're freaking superpower.
You're good after that. Like, legitimately, you've been through not a fun time, and life gets a little lighter. It's like, picture carrying a 70-pound backpack for a year, and then all of a sudden you take the backpack off. What's she gonna feel like? What's she gonna look like? What's she gonna be? That's how I see people when I see them in the dark. And I think it's important to be with people and not fix the problem, but just be with them down in the hole.
So I'm skipping around a little bit from where I want to talk a little bit about kind of how you got into fighting and like how you met Eric, because I love him. Like, even though I've only spent a little bit of time with him, and we'll talk about him. But since we're talking about triumph and trials, I went back and watched your Joe Rogan podcast from like 4 years ago when you were talking about you were injured 3 times. You had 2 ACLs, and forgive me if I have like a little of the language wrong. Like the ACL MCL combined injury was your first injury.
Second. No, first.
First, right? And Joe had said like, well, that at the time that was the worst injury anyone's ever had in professional MMA that we're aware of that actually came back. Right?
I think it was the multiple. Like, people have had 1, but I had 3 ACL reconstructive surgeries in a span of like 3 years.
That's crazy.
Or 4 years.
That's crazy.
So that's what I think he was talking
about. Yeah, and then you had another one. And so like I had a mentor, Commander Mark Devine, when I was training for like this civilian Navy SEAL thing. It was pretty awesome. But there was something about, one of the things he talked about that I want to ask you a question about, because you talk about this, is that he talks about this idea of surrendering when you're suffering. And when people hear like surrender, they think they quit. But he means surrender in like, okay, you're there, I gotcha, you're there, but I'm not gonna like. And you've mentioned something about when you're going through your injuries, you kept fighting the injuries and trying to be positive through the injuries. Can you explain that a little bit? And then like the transformation that happened. I think it's really important.
Yeah, that's a good point. So like when you're fighting I blew my knee out twice, or my MCL, ACL. And then right when I did that, I'm already under the mindset of, it's okay, you're gonna come back fast, you're gonna be strong, you're young, you're gonna be fine. And with the mentality, even hearing that, you can hear, did I say you're hurt? No, I didn't. I didn't even accept the fact that I was actually like you tend to black it out when you wanna come back. So the learning hadn't started yet that my body was trying to teach me, which was, you're hurt. Sit still, be with, don't fight, don't resist. And I was still in, I'll be fine in no time, which is pure resistance to what had happened actually. Yeah. And so I didn't know that. So I start fighting it, and I'm fine. I get back in 6 months, I'm drilling, kickboxing again. And go figure, I did a cadaver tendon, and it didn't take at the level it should have. By the 6-month mark, I wasn't as sturdy as it could have been if I would have taken my own tissue. So it pops, tear it again. So this time I only tear my ACL, not my ACL, MCL. I only tear my ACL in the second pop, but it's the same knee. So that's a little less rehab because I can bend my knee right after the surgery, but it's still.
And were you the champ at this time?
Yeah.
I thought so. Okay.
Yeah, I'm the world champ at this time. When I blew my knee out, I got pulled off the Ultimate Fighter the first time when I was preparing for that, which was heartbreaking. So then when I blow it out the second time, that broke me. That was like, I was demolished. It put me into it threw me into a state of depression, but I was still fighting it. I was still gonna be back faster than ever. I was still gonna stay champ and be okay and hold on to the belt. Looking at it hindsight, the smart thing would have been to maybe let go of the belt then to lessen the pressure of wanting to be back so fast and surrender to the injury, but you live and you learn. Yeah. So I didn't do that. I keep training I keep trying to get better, and I come back to prepare for after the second knee surgery, and then I tear my quad. So this is why I'm telling you this, is because I still haven't accepted that I'm hurt. Yeah. Like the 2 knees, I'm back in record time. But now that my knee's good.
And I'm just knowing you so I can say this a little bit, like I would imagine your ego is like, look at me, I'm bouncing back so fast. Look at how great I am. I'm superhuman in some ways, or.
Well, by the second one, you're not thinking that. That's gone after the first one. Okay. That's you're showing up to your workout with no caffeine by that one. Yeah. You know what I mean? You don't want to be there. And this is my second one. So then this heals, but then I'm getting ready for a title fight against Barao. Once my knee heals, I'm like, okay. Yeah. So it's been 18 months, 2 surgeries, 2 knee surgeries. It's been 18 months. And now they say you're fighting Barao because they need to keep the belt moving. While I'm preparing for that title fight, I tear the quad off my bone on this side. I'm throwing so many kicks and my body wasn't ready for the workload. Yeah. Coming from 18 months of surgery straight into a title fight, my muscles all just tore off the bones.
Just for everyone's clarification there, so like the challenge there was, since Dom was injured while having the belt, he didn't get to go and fight once or twice to get re-prepped for like a title match. He's going, was it 5 rounds?
Right. That's what makes it difficult.
So much workload.
That's what makes it difficult. Good point is that usually when somebody gets injured, they have like somebody in the top 20 that they face, and then they have a top 15, and they have a top, and then now you fight for a title. Yeah. Because I had the title when I got hurt and kept the title, I'm fighting the #1 best guy on earth every time I'm matched up. And so that's why it's so crazy that I'm taking this much time. So when I tear the quad, now I've been out for close to 3 years by the end of this quad heal. Wow. So 2 ACLs and a quad. This heals, I come back and I fight and I win. And then I blow my knee out after that fight.
Kidding me?
Yeah. Then after I win that fight, after I was out 3 years, I beat that guy in 1 minute, Takeya Mizugaki. And I had taken an antibiotic that weakens your tendons for up to 6 months after you take it. It's called Cipro. And I didn't know that. They gave it to me because I had a staph infection, and I had to kill a staph infection 3 weeks before I fought Mizugaki. Wow. So the staph infection medicine weakened my tendons. I was throwing high kicks, blew my right knee out. So this one out twice, then the quad, then I fight, then I win, then I blew my right knee out. When I blew my right knee out, that's when I surrendered. That's when I finally understood. That's when I remember blowing it out, sitting down and going to my coach and said, I blew my knee out again. And he goes, what? No way. And I was just calm about it because I now knew that I knew what to do. It was the weirdest, most eerie, accepting. It was the third one, and I would think I'd be hysterical, but even looking back, I was calm because I knew I could do it now. Thank God I had that fight, and thank God I had made it through that 3 years to fight Mizugaki and beat him in a minute, because that gave me the confidence I needed to know that I'm still elite level competition. Yeah. I just need to figure out this body situation. And so I said, I'm good. And so I started healing it. But that's when I surrendered. And to touch on what you're saying about surrender, it took me 2 knee surgeries, a blown out quad, and a fight and then another blowout before I was even willing to look at the idea of surrendering. And so the teacher couldn't be there until I was wore out and tired of resisting. Yeah. I was just tired of it after the third one. It's like, okay, I'm hurt. I might never come back again. There's a possibility I'll never fight again. This is crazy what you just did to yourself.
So I wanna, it's interesting. So I remember working a volleyball camp. I played volleyball in college, right? I'm working a volleyball camp, and this lady who's, I'm gonna leave her name out of it just because this is a little personal, but she shares she 2-time Olympian, silver medalist, multi-time. And I was like, oh, you're like my hero, right? And the more we became friends, and she's probably 10, 12 years, maybe more, even older than me. And then I got to meet all these national team players, and I was like, someone told me, she's like, well, she's really suffering a lot with depression. And I was like, I don't understand this. She's one of the best players in the world. How could she be doing this? Well, because she finished second twice. And her whole life, because I know you talk a lot about this topic, about her whole life was put in this bucket of if I win, I'm good. If I don't, I'm not. And I see it even with my own kids, competitive sports, the parents' desire, and that's not even to forgive parents a little bit on that, but it coaches and our expectation of it's either everything we get or nothing, and there's no in between. I would imagine through that whole process, there was a lot of different identity, emotional growth, why don't you just speak on that? Because I think I've heard you talk about it, and I think you're...
About which piece exactly are you wanting me to talk about?
Finding happiness in that journey, or finding the light as you go through the darkness, because I think you've hit different parts of bottom and physically.
The hard part about talking about this stuff is I haven't thought this way for very long. That's the weird thing about it. So the things I talk about even now, I've learned recently suffering. It's not like this is something that Dominick just knows. It's like I had to suck bad before these things I started to click these things. And the number one thing that I focused on for a year was surrender. I'm going to go back to that again. I wrote it on everything. It was on my Zoom name. I was rendición. Which is surrender in Spanish. And it's just everything I did, I wrote surrender. And when I would see that, it would allow me to be what I wanted to be, which was to let it be what it is. And that's what I didn't have with my injuries that just held me up so long, was just letting it be what it is. What can I receive? What's the message what's the inobvious here that I'm not getting? That's what God's trying to get your attention on. And that's what injuries are. To me, it's your mind and your heart and your soul and your body telling you something's off internally and you need to look at it. And if you don't, we're going to keep injuring you. And as I started surrendering to these injuries and realizing, okay, yeah, you might be out you might never come back. And I surrendered to that. Well, what that actually means and where people get lost is you think that means quitting and letting go. What it actually means is receiving. So surrender isn't just letting go. It's what the piece everybody tends to forget is the receiving part of surrender, because surrender feels so hard. You don't want to receive anymore. Yeah. You're too pissed off or upset or whatever you're going through from surrendering to go to the next step, which is, if me and you are at war and I start waving the white flag, what's the next step after the flag goes down is I walk over to you, and what's next? I have to
surrender, or we have to receive.
I have to receive. No, you don't. You can do whatever you want. I surrendered to you. I surrendered to you, didn't I? Yeah. So you don't have to get anything. I have to receive what you're going to give me due to my surrender. So that could mean torture. That could mean enlightenment. That could mean a new house and a wife. Because you don't know. It could be great, it could be bad, but that's the point of surrendering is what can you receive from it to learn? Like, what's the next thing? Yeah. And with all the injuries, until I did that with this third, that was the fastest healing I ever had because I surrendered. And so I had a direct, like, this works and this doesn't. I had it like a layout of what worked and what didn't due to so many, like you said, ups and downs through each one, feeling like I'll never come back, feeling like I'll be back, feeling like you can't stop me, feeling like a champion, feeling like a loser. Like through all that, you learn, okay, what if I surrendered to all of it and didn't compartmentalize each thought? What if surrendering meant accepting all of it?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Every bit of it, never.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So I want to ask a specific question in regards to actual when you're in combat, because I would never. I don't know the experience, but I could. My only my hobby life is when I climb mountains or do hard things, and you go into suffering, and you got to be okay. The more you resist and fight away that you're in pain, you're oh, I got to get out of it. The more it gets worse, and it's the more you're all right, all right, you're just gonna be there for a while, and I just got to keep going. It's it kind of fades away at times. So I was watching one of your battles with TJ Dillashaw, however many years ago it was awesome. But I knowing that I was going to see you, I kind of watched it differently, in the sense that between rounds, watching you especially the third and fourth round, or going into the fifth and going into the fourth, you guys were battling. It was amazing to see and listen to Eric and you guys just communicating and how he's awesome. And then just seeing you getting ready to go back to battle. Is there any do you have any process that you are consciously aware of that you go through when you're in that you say to yourself or think through?
When I go through what?
When you're in that, you're late in the rounds, fighting your ass off, tired, hurt, all that, still got to go perform.
Yeah. Well, at that moment, you've trained yourself to listen to your corners. For me.
For you.
For me,
yeah.
That's by 4th or 5th round, you're like not there. You're there, but you're not there. You're like you're in your spiritual form. You're no longer your human form in that place.
Yeah.
So when people talk, it's like it sinks or it doesn't. It just depends on the person talking to you. You only hear certain things, and it's your coach's responsibility to know what to say to get you to like lock in and do what you need to do to get it done. Yeah. And every coach is going to say something different. Nobody's wrong or right for whatever they say in that corner, because when you're in that place, you're not human anymore, pretty much.
Why that relationship? Like how long has Eric been your cornerman?
I mean, for 20 over. For probably 18 fights. Yeah. 18 of my 27.
Yeah. It's amazing. And just he's got such a calm demeanor. At least when I've seen of just keeping then one focal point and then get out there. Like it's am I misreading that?
No, you it's your interpretation. Yeah, that's how you see it. That's how you see it. For me, Eric is it's like you take all the other stuff that's there and he knows how to throw out the shit that doesn't matter and give you what matters in 1 or 2 words, and that's all I need. And I trust him to have those things. Yeah. So I don't listen to anything else. You can just pull, okay, I need to take those 2 things. Done. That's it. Everything else is just not there, noise.
Let's talk about Eric. So I did some fishing around, called some of our old buddies to be like, all right, so give me, these are the stories I know of Dominick of getting into fighting. And then I spoke to Eric a bit about, but I didn't realize like how you came out here by yourself. Can you share that story? Because I bet you your story is better than me.
This is different.
I love, by the way, just for the camera, do you notice like Dominick's has a very, I will do a different podcast just where I'll interpret how he's not judging any of my self-judgments. I know.
And none of it's, whatever you see is what you see. It's all good. The bottom line is when it comes to me and Eric's position, I took a fight on 2 days' notice, and that's how I met him, essentially. He was running a show called Total Combat out here,
California, and
I was living in Tucson. And I got to about 6-0 by myself while working all these jobs, and I would just fight on the weekends for fun. I was making $50 paychecks. It wasn't a thing yet. I wasn't thinking I was gonna do this. I was doing it so I didn't fight in the streets and get arrested. I was doing it to just be young, dumb, have fun.
And you weighed what, 143?
About 43, yeah.
And you fought at 155?
Yeah, because they didn't have 135 or 145 when I began fighting. It was 2006, and they were on like Ultimate Fighter Season 1. So it was still illegal in more than 48 of the 50 states that we have.
As Joe at Victory MMA was telling me as I was before I came here, he's like, Dominick invented bantamweight. He made the whole division. Without him, it wouldn't exist. I was like, man.
Sounds crazy, but it's partially. Well, you had to have the people to even make the weight class worth having. You have to have. So without Faber too, I couldn't have. You have to have two. And that's the thing, my whole vision, that's why my whole vision of this sport is different now. Like I could have never said what I just said 15 years ago when I was doing this. I just wanted to kill him. That's all I could see was red for that dude. And now looking back at it, it's like every single one of these people is my teammate. And
you needed Team Alpha. You needed those guys.
I need every athlete in my division now. They are my teammates. You're not. It's weird. It's like, it's the ego has to set aside the fact that you won, lost, or make it right or wrong, take that whole thing away and just turn it into what it is, which is, team.
So you start training with Eric. Now I want to talk about him briefly because actually, so the other side of it was like, well, Eric saw like, hey, this guy, like Lloyd, Jimmy, all gave me this story of like, well, who's this kid who flies out here by himself? He's got no cornerman. And at that time, then Eric was like, here, why don't you join our team, or I want to train you, right?
Yeah, so what happened is I took a fight on 2 days' notice because I was prepared for another fight. And I got a call from Eric like, hey, would you be willing to save this show? You're a co-main event. The guy's good. I'm not going to lie. But I had already been preparing for another fight at a bigger weight class at altitude in Colorado. So I was very confident in my cardio, and I was very confident in my strength. because this fight was going to be 10 pounds lighter. So I figured, okay, this guy doesn't know. I'm only going to go 3 rounds. I was ready for 5 at altitude. So I'm going to be in better shape than this guy for sure. And then I'm going to be stronger. So that makes the 2 days notice kind of go out the door because of my cardio and my size. And so I said, yeah, I'll take it. And by showing up with no cornerman by myself, it just made Eric go, what the hell is this guy doing? And then winning against a town favorite with no cornerman. I mean, they literally grabbed 2 people out of the stands and threw them in my corner that I had never met. That's why we vibed, because I saved him a lot of money. He didn't have to buy flights for anybody.
I love it. Well, I love. So what I'm so attracted to regarding Eric Del Fiero, who is I had a volleyball coach my senior year in college. Guy showed up out of nowhere, had very little track record, and he was a soccer player in college. And here we were, all volleyball players, and he lost a coin flip in getting his master's degree in Italy, where his best friend was like, well, whoever wins the coin flip gets to coach soccer, which is they've all played soccer in college. Whoever loses has to go coach the volleyball team. Well, he fell in love with volleyball. Yeah. And he became a 4 a.m.er. And what I mean by 4 a.m.er is he stayed up till 4 a.m. scouting and just putting the work in, started volunteering with the national team. He's gone on to win 12 national titles, Division III. He is a bronze medalist with the men's national team. He gets job offers from he's Charlie Sullivan's his name. He's amazing. And he's a short guy, never played volleyball a day in his life. And then when I met Eric, I was like, wait, you were never a MMA fighter? But you're training all these Alliance MMA guys, some of the baddest dudes in the world. How does that happen, right? So I was very pulled towards him.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I love the parallel you created with surrender there. I mean, your volleyball coach surrendered to the fact that he'd never played volleyball, but he's going to try something new, and look what became of it. He received it, and now he's the best. So that's another example. He could have easily taken that job and been mad the whole time. And got nothing from it and created nothing for anybody else. Eric embodies that same type of mindset. But the difference that I would say is he was still fighting. He just didn't fight. That's another reason why so many people can follow him and why he knows what he knows that nobody knows he knows what he knows is he has fought, but he doesn't have a pro record. That's 2 different things. I used to spar the guy, and he would give me rounds when I first moved here in 2006, hard rounds. He's got a good left hook. He's got a good toe kick. He has his tools, and he comes from Shamrock's camp, from the Lions Den.
See, what's funny about that is so that's how humble Eric is, because when I sat and had dinner with him, he didn't bring any of this up.
He doesn't like to talk about himself because Eric. He might not like hearing this, but Eric has what's like a golden shadow, and a lot of us have it. We have this power that we don't show to people because we don't want people to see us and point us out, and then now it's known, and now we either have to be that, we're set to that example, or people will attack us. Joe Rogan is a great example of that right now. He's taking his power and he's running with it, and what's happening? He's getting burned in all directions. So you got to be careful. But Joe Rogan doesn't dim his light. He continues to push through it and say, you know what? If I'm attacked, I'm attacked. Eric Del Fiero, he doesn't talk about himself because he's amazing, and he doesn't want people to know how much he knows. It's almost like if you're playing dumb on purpose. That's Eric. He won't give you all the loot on him because he's very secretive. But the man's a genius. He knows fighting as much and more than me.
Is it because he's too busy pouring it into his people that he loves so much, or he trains?
It's because he doesn't want to be held to the standard of what he is. Great. It's hard. If you stay quiet and you stay out of the limelight and you don't tell people, then there's nothing to hold up to, is there? So the guy could be whatever he wants. He is whatever he wants. He's the biggest version of himself. I see him right now, but he doesn't talk about it. Yeah. And I don't have to either. But if I don't, then what? Yeah. Then what happens? This isn't my comfort zone sitting here talking about myself, you know, but if you don't do it, there's nowhere to go. So with Eric, he can give all this. He's somebody I rely on in everything. I always bounce my thoughts off him for everything. And I always, people say I speak well and I this and I that. Well, it's because I allow you to see it. I would love for Eric to allow you to see where he is.
Well, I had it in my notes, just like when I was thinking of you about talking about your ability to process information. I want to get to that in a second. But there's a book that a friend of mine turned me on to. It's called Quiet, like the power and intelligence, like the power of an introvert. And I was like, I bought it because I don't consider myself to be an introvert. Yeah. But I love being alone. Yep. And I love, so if you actually followed me around all day, I have no desire to have people around me. Yep.
It's so funny you say that.
And so when I was thinking of you, I was like, well, Dom, you've had to work hard at doing the social, getting out here, and that's why I appreciated you when you said yes, you can be on the show. I was like, I'm booking the flight because there's just windows of time where.
Thank you, because it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard. Thanks for making the time.
But you've got to work hard at that, and so I guess that's a compliment. I just want to acknowledge it.
Thank you. I think, for instance, before we did this podcast, I was in my room, I closed the door, and there's things going on. People are knocking on my door, and I close my door after I'm done talking to them because I need to be alone. Like I could not have this space that I'm giving right now if I don't lock myself in a dark room for 2-3 hours after my training session this morning. Yeah. I have to just shut down. So again, that's why me and Eric understand each other so well too. Thing with Eric that I love is he has all the skills, you'll just never know about it. Like he can fight, he used to train, he did all that. That's what we were talking about, was Eric, and how he'll never know, but he can do it. And that's why when he gives advice, he's giving advice from a fighter's perspective, but you'd never know it. So everything I talk to him, I ask what he thinks, and then I get my own, and then I put them together, and then that's how I speak well. So to answer your question, how do I speak so well? It's the groundings I get from all the people around me, who I tap into. Yeah. I've tapped into you for things too. Yeah. So I'll call people when I don't know something, and I'll get a good grounding. Eric Del Fierro is one of my people. I think he's a great gift, and I look forward to the day he chooses to, share himself the way I know he can.
This is kind of random. How do you like? I know you love how the media likes to twist people's words. So I'm saying that sarcastically, obviously. But one of the coolest things about you being commentators, you get to work with so many talented people that are all differently talented. Yeah. Is that energizing for you? Challenging? All the above?
Oh, it could. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's challenging, yeah, because you're dealing with all the personalities, and you have to work as a team. Yep. So it's just like a team sport, and a lot of things. You gotta always put them first, and if you don't, it doesn't work. And there's been times that when I'm fighting and when I'm talking to media, that's the hardest part, is which Dom am I? Am I the Dom talking to my friend Daniel Cormier? Am I the fighter that's fighting to the analyst Daniel Cormier? Or am I the analyst that's talking to the Daniel Cormier that knows I'm a fighter and an analyst? Or am I, what the hell do I need to be right now? And in that role, which way do I answer to not piss off the analysts that I work with? Yeah. So as a fighter, I need to answer a certain way to throw the fighters off the trail. And then there's a lot of different, and then I can't answer the analysts the way I want to, like I would if we were in an analyst room, or the way that they know me as, because I'm in fighter mode. So sometimes the hard part about the job is.
And that's interesting, because if you were sitting there, we're sitting here, and Daniel or Joe or Michael Bisping asked you a question about the fights that are going on now, you have a totally different third-party view of this, and you can answer it a certain way. But if you're prepping to fight someone, it's associated versus being disassociated, and also there's probably things you don't want to share with people.
You nailed it, and that's where it's so. Thank you for saying that. That there's a lot of things I don't want to share with people, That's a fact. I'm a pro athlete at the highest level.
You have the right to not share. That's the other thing. Yeah.
This is where the whole thing has to shift. The whole paradigm shifts by what's my job in that position. It's not about me. It's about the people I'm talking about. It's about giving to the fighters. I'm also a fighter. So if I'm a fighter and the person who's talking about me doesn't know a thing about me and doesn't care about me, then what they say about me is going to be reflected as so. So if I'm talking to a fighter, am I there for the fighter or am I there for myself? Am I there to collect my paycheck or am I there to understand this athlete and understand what they put into it because I'm a fighter? And now I'm gonna pretend that that person is me sitting there. How would I want somebody to do this job for me? And when I put myself into that, it allows me to serve the athlete and not look at my competition with them, not see what they're doing wrong, but only see what they're doing in a place of giving. And that's how I go into that job. So it's never about me, ever, when I do that job. It's
that's crazy.
It's about the athlete.
That's really impressive. I'll just say that because the easiest way nowadays to get viral stuff and is to catch people and to do stuff. And I know that you and I are on the same page on this topic, and I know you probably don't really want to talk about it, so we're not going to. I have other questions that are higher and more abundant, so we'll keep it there.
That's why you wrote them down so you don't get off track.
Well, it's just easy nowadays because with the, I'll speak this, but it's like with the Joe thing, it's like, well, yeah, every podcaster in the world who has no fans is now talking about Joe, and people that don't know him are hating him on clips they don't even know the guy. I've listened to 5,000 of his episodes. The guy was a guy who interviewed his buddies who were 90% comedians for frickin' 3 years. The amount of nonsense that was said that they all knew, listen to any comedian, they're all frickin' hysterically they're hysterical by being totally inappropriate. That's how they make a living. So if we're gonna judge people on that, anyhow, I said it, I'll go there, and I love Joe Rogan, and you can quote me on that.
I think we all do.
I want to, just the last few questions with you is this new phase of your life. I mean, you're broadcasting, you're commentating, but you're fighting. I didn't realize you have another training session tonight, so I appreciate even more that we're hanging out. Prep work, how do you prepare for that? Because, okay, so the compliment I hear about you most often is that you are next level analyst, next level commentator, and then all my friends, even locally, are like, oh, Dom, he's my favorite person. They just love listening to you because you break down fights in a way, and people in a way that it's just unique and different, okay? How do you stay at an elite level as a fighter, keeping your emotions and your energy and all the things you got to keep track while also having the job of delivering for UFC 271 and prep? How many guys are on a card?
16. Yeah, it can be 24.
24, wow.
Up to 24. So I'm I have to watch film on all these guys too. Yeah. Don't forget that. And then I got to interview them. So I have to hire people. I have people that I hire to do the interviews, but I do the studying. So I'll have a guy make the calls and ask a certain group of questions that me and this person talked about that I want to pull the fighter into their personality more than their fighting skills. And I ask them personal questions, and I have this person ask those questions, get the information, and then it gets emailed to me. So that's interview questions like we're doing right now. It's not fight questions. Then I interview the fighters in the fighter meetings, and I take the information that was given and I add that to the information I get myself from the fighters in the fighter meeting, and I put it all together as one big lump sum of information. And then when I watch the film, I take all that information and I pull out from the film the things that matter most from all the information that I have. That way the stuff that matters is on the paper, and then that's the last distillation before I talk about what I wrote on the paper from watching the film and taking the information and the interviews and everything else, and then break it down into whatever key details match up with their opponent. So if their opponent's a southpaw, I want to see what weapons this opponent has that works well from their past 3 fights against southpaws. How many southpaws have they fought? What are the weapons they landed? How did they do it well? Does that habit line up well with the habits of this opponent? Oh crap, this person eats a lot of left hooks. Oh crap, this person's got a good left hook. Chances are we're going to see a left hook land probably in the second round in this fight because of the film that I just watched. Yeah, I love it. So that's how I break down the film. And how do I do that compared to how I fight is the same way I put one shoe on and then put on the other. It's literally just do one at a time.
Yeah.
You have a lot to do, just do one thing at a time.
Yeah, I love it.
It's really not that hard because it's all fighting. It's all fighting.
Yeah.
It's all fighting.
And you had said something too, like, I mean, how, you know, you're a very visual learner where if you see something, you can register it, and I would imagine then it makes sense to easily articulate that and break it down.
More if I watch. It's not right off the bat. I can watch something multiple times and then get a lot out of it. Yeah, I can get a lot out of very the same thing over and over. Yeah.
Awesome. Last two things. I'm wearing your gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I love it. I saw, and then you have your fight videos out, or your footwork videos.
Yep.
I was trying to find his name today, but I was on the airplane and my internet wasn't working. Who's the Penn State guy you train with? Who's I was watching a video of him using the Dominick Cruz footwork in his wrestling.
Roman Bravo Young. He's about to be a 2-time national champ. He's a one-timer. He's from my hometown, Tucson, Arizona, and that's how we linked up, being from the same state.
Yeah.
And then trying to expand, you know, you got to bring your hometown people and bring them with you because it's, you know, that's important. It's like family when you got people from your hometown that went to your same schools and did the same stuff. So Roman has become family for me, and he's doing his own thing. But the Dominick Cruz MMA fundamentals course you can get online, and it's got a whole breakdown of, it might not seem like it, but there is a method to what I do, and there is a way to use what I do and cross it to any sport. That's what's cool about the drills that I show, is it's not just for fighting. The footwork I do is to flood your body with footwork so that no matter what the sport is, you've been in every position for any sport, no matter where you are, and nothing's uncomfortable with your feet. And there's a certain set of rhythmic drills and just drills in general that really lay that out for you from a very beginner mindset. Whereas what I do looks very complicated. I break it down into tiny little chunks, and then you can get it. Roman Bravo Young uses it. So many other people are using it. It's, you know, it's a baseline for mixed martial arts, but it's also a baseline for just athleticism in sports. Yeah,
because everything comes down to, like, I mean, if we went deeper into your sequential way of breaking things down, I mean, everything breaks down into timing, sequences, speed, randomness, chaos, in like, I mean,
timing. So you got to look at football or tennis or basketball. What's the number one thing that separates everybody else? Is speed and footwork, right? Yeah. Like, it starts there. Can they jump higher? If they can't jump high, how fast are they? Yeah. If they're not that fast, how quick are they? And that comes from your feet. So you have to. That's the basis of fundamentals for athleticism. And I focus a lot on that.
Is your next fight scheduled yet?
Nothing's scheduled. There's so many guys that want to fight me, and then there's so many guys to fight, that it's about getting everything timing-wise. It's all timing right now. I'm at the point in my career where I could have 10 fights, or I could have 5, or I could have 2. I'm not in a rush, but I'm here to fight, and I enjoy doing it. So when the fights are there, like big fights are there, I'd love to have.
And I will, for the record, will say I think that you definitely should be doing a solo cast like we have right now, but without me here, with your wisdom and just the things that you bring. And I know.
You know what's funny about that is I just spoke to you. Thank you for saying that, because I just spoke to you about Eric Del Fiero and his Golden Shadow, and how much I want him to open up and really give more of what he gives to me to everybody else. And it's funny because that's the mirror he is for me after hearing you. And I just realized that, like, he is a big mirror for me. I can say all that about him because that's actually something I get to do myself. I don't need to do, but I get to do it, where I move into a space, and you're not the first person to tell me that. Why do I not do it? Well, I'm watching Joe Rogan get creamed right now. That's part of the reason.
Yeah, cancel culture is real.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Well, it's actually a pain in the butt.
I'm scared of you. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna say that's gonna, like, who knows? And I'm kind of a crazy talker. I say what I mean what I say, and I mean it. So it's like, that's part of the reason why I'm kind of like quiet, I think, and why I'm just doing this with you, and you keep me in a box with your questions. You give me the mic and a camera, who knows what I'm going to say here.
But, you know, Ed Clay and I were talking about this before I came over. I was in the sauna and we were talking. He's like, he asked me, he said, you know, a question you should ask Dom, which I didn't get to, which is like, you know, what were your biggest lessons during the COVID, like the shutdowns. And then he changed it to me and he said, well, what was yours, Ed? And I said, well, what I wish I did sooner and faster was to just remind my family and the neighborhood and all the people that I'm the leader of this household. Like, so we don't need permission from the government to say this. And our archdiocese doesn't need to, they may have their mandates and things, but our freedom comes from the fact that I'm your dad, and we're going to still live a life of not want to fear. And so, like, with our podcast and with sharing, I mean, that's the fear of everything. Like, I might say something stupid, but at the end of the day, like, there's a large percentage of the population who needs leaders like yourself to communicate. And so I love you, man. You're the best.
Love you too, man. And, thanks for doing this, pulling it out of me.
Yeah. So, all right. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the show. Please go visit Dominick's. What was your website again?
You can go to Dominick Cruz Fundamentals, DominickCruzMMA.com, Dominick Cruz for Instagram, Dom Cruz 619 for Snapchat. I mean, YouTube.
Yeah, follow him. Comment, love it. These shirts are amazing. My daughter Reese wears the sweatshirt because she's a wrestler. My daughter's wrestling. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, she's wrestling. And we love, you got to follow this guy and make him part of your family because we've done it. We've adopted him in the O'Keefe crew. 9 is not enough. We need 10 and we'll adopt more winners. So have a great day. Thanks so much. And please share this.
Love you guys.
Hey, it's Ed again. Hey, one last thing before you leave. First, I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to the show. If you love this show or this episode and know someone who can benefit, please copy it and share it with them. Also, if you can do me a favor and leave a quick review wherever you listen to these podcasts the most, whether it's Apple, Spotify, etc., it really will help us get the message out to more people. That's it. Thanks again, and make it a great day.